Well, hello. Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO legend and paranormal lore. Welcome back, welcome back. Happy to be back. Hopefully, you guys are doing well and taking care of yourselves. We've got a good one today, but before I get into it, I'm going to say hello to my cast of characters. We've got Hello, Dead Kitty. Yes, it's coming upon your favorite holiday, Halloween. We've got Everything Zen Bigfoot meditating on the 10th dimension tonight, and we've got Baby Alien right here. Now, are we missing anybody? Yes, we are. We're missing Alien Head. Here he is. He's meditating into a yellow, orangish, tropical color tonight. Now, I'm going to do a podcast tonight that might be a little controversial, and that's fine. I don't care. I've wanted to do this for a while because I wanted to dig into one of the biggest conspiracy theorists of all time and really kind of understand where he came from and why he came from it and why he was pushed towards doing his radio show and television shows and opening up his own channel, his own business, and going down the path that he did. I'm talking about Alex Jones. Now, he's a very controversial guy. Totally get it. But I still want to cover him because he's one of the very central figures when it comes to government conspiracies, alien conspiracies, who and what we are as a species, where we're going to go after this life. He even had a website called prisonplanet.org, which really revolved around the idea that we are on a prison planet and that the reptilians are in control of the mass media. So, right then and there, you have one of the main popular opinions of ufologists. Now, do a lot of people follow everything that he says, in regards to UFOs and aliens? Maybe, maybe not. But let's get into why he started this and what really interested him, and then we can kind of get into the bio of what his core audience was about and interested in. So Alex Jones was actually born Alexander Emmerich Jones, February 11th, 1974. He's only 49. I thought he was older, actually. Now his show, the Alex Jones Show, is based in Texas. InfoWars, Prison Planet, all that stuff is down in Austin, Texas. And it's broadcast on Genesis Communication Networks. He's broadcast to 100 different FM radio stations. He's got his own business. His business is raked in millions and millions of dollars. I read on one website where they said he only was worth $5 million. But then as we get further down this article, some on Wikipedia and some on some other articles, they talk about how he raked in like $176 million in 1 year. So it gets interesting. But, he does get raked in with like the far right, and, that's where it gets a little bit contemptuous, and people kind of disagree. And of course, he's very notorious for the fact that he called Sandy Hook basically government conspiracy and, to take away our guns and all that stuff. But what is really interesting is, well, let me hold off on that. Let's get to his early life, and then we'll get into his conspiracy theories and maybe even facts. So he was born on February 11, 1974 in Dallas, Texas, and raised in a suburb of Rockwall. His father was a dentist in Austin, and his mother was a homemaker. He claims Irish, German, Welsh, English, and Comanche descent. The family moved to Austin in Jones' sophomore year of high school. Now, a lot of stuff happens in Austin. Very artistic city, booming with a lot of, a lot of different diverse cultures. It's a musical city. It's got great culture there. He attended Anderson High School, where he played football, and graduated in 1993. So 1993 is like a prime year if you're interested in like conspiracy theories, because a lot of stuff happened in the early 90s and mid 90s and the late 90s. After graduating, Jones briefly attended Austin Community College before dropping out. So my mind is that this guy's like a Harvard educated, kind of guy. I mean, when he speaks, he has a high level and grasp of the English language, but didn't even pass community college. I mean, well, he dropped out, I should say. Not that he didn't pass. As a teenager, he read None Dare Call It a Conspiracy, a book by John Birch Society, a conspiracy theorist, Gary Allen, which alleged global bankers controlled American politics rather than elected officials. Interesting, right? It had a profound influence on Jones, and Jones described Allen's work as the easiest to read primer in the New World Order. That's what's really interesting here, is that, he kind of, everybody has their motives and their impetuses, their, like the core kind of starting point for their passions and their dreams. And apparently, he had a conspiracy book and just primed him getting ready for what was to come. Now, around this time, 1993, guess what also happened? The Waco siege at the Branch Davidian complex near Waco, Texas. That had a humongous impact on Jones and people around the world who saw this place go into flames. Basically, the government going in and burning people alive for no real reason. So it ended in April 1993, and it was near Jones' senior year of high school, with a substantial fire and a significant number of fatalities. According to the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is a nonprofit organization that's based out of Montgomery, Alabama, known for its legal cases for hate groups, these events only confirmed his belief in inexorable progress of unseen malevolent forces. So basically, the SPLC thought that Jones took this to be like some different cause, but a lot of Americans believe that the government shouldn't have gone into Waco and shouldn't have burned people alive. I think a lot of people feel that way. And if you look at Ruby Ridge, kind of the same scenario. Government, ATF went in and had their way. I mean, it's basically the kind of police brutality that we see at a governmental level. The Oklahoma City bombings as well, Jones did not believe that it was committed by Timothy McVeigh. In a response to the federal involvement there, Jones began accusing the federal government of having caused it. He stated, "I understood there's a kleptocracy working with psychopathic governments, clutches of evil that know the tricks of control." He didn't believe that the bombing had been the responsibility of McVeigh and his associate Terry Nichols. He actually made a film about this in 1998 called America Destroyed by Design. Now, see, it's when I started listening to Jones when I was a young gun, he was already booming the airwaves in the 2000s. I mean, this guy was on every FM radio station, AM radio station. People were listening to this guy. I mean, he had a wide swath of America listening to him, and people were tuned in. I mean, there was like, people might listen to their local AM radio. They might listen to NPR, or they were listening to Alex Jones. And there was a massive amount of people listening to Alex Jones. And we'll get into how many people in just a second, because his broadcast career went through the freaking roof. Now, whether you like him, whether you don't, we're just talking about how high of an ascent, how wide of a grasp he really had with people, and a connection that he had with people. So in 1998, Jones organized a successful campaign to build a new Branch Davidian church as a memorial to those who died in the 1993 fire. I'd never heard that before. I thought that was kind of interesting. He often discussed the project on his public access television program and claimed that David Koresh and his followers were peaceful people who were murdered by Attorney General Janerino and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms during the siege. So how did Jones start his career, his radio career, and then moved into InfoWars, Prison Planet, and all that? Well, he began his career working on a live call-in format. So people call in public access cable television. It reminds me of like Wayne's World, right? How they do the, public access television. In 1996, Jones switched to radio, hosting a show called named The Final Edition on KJFK 98.9 FM, and that's in Austin, Texas too. Influenced by radio host William Cooper, Jones was moved to call and have William Cooper come on the television show. Now, see, if you guys know who William Cooper is, he wrote the book, baby. 1991's Behold a Pale Horse, all about government conspiracies. Cooper described everything about HIV being a man-made disease to all kinds of government conspiracies. If you read that Behold a Pale Horse book, dude, your mind will be 100% blown. I mean, the conspiracy theories that he has in there are just unbelievable. And, well, they may be actually believable. They're just so wild, but they're conceivable at the same time. So Jones had a lot of people on the show. William Cooper was one of them. Jones began to broadcast about his New World Order conspiracy at this time too. So it was 96, and starting and moving into the turn of the century. Yeah, turn of the century, and then a turn of the millennium, and then moving forward. He also had Ron Paul as a guest on as he was running for Congress. In 1999, he tied Shannon Burke for the year's best Austin talk radio host, voted on by the Austin Chronicle readers. Later that year, interestingly enough, he was fired by that radio station KJFK-FM, when he refused to broaden his horizon. He didn't want to talk about anything else other than conspiracy theories. So they said, basically, we can't sell advertising. We got to let you go. So that's what they did. And Jones said it was purely political. It came down from on high. I was told 11 weeks ago to lay off Bill Clinton and to lay off these politicians, not to talk about the rebuilding of the church, and to stop bashing the Marines. I'm not sure if it was because of a war or what was going on there. But it was around this time in 1999, a few years later, actually, because, yeah, that was 99. No, it was the same year. Jones is the publisher and director of InfoWars, and is responsible for promoting what some believe are conspiracy theories or maybe even conspiracy facts. InfoWars was originally founded by Alex Jones and Kelly Jones, which was his wife, in about 1999, and initially was made for kind of like to sell their conspiracy-oriented videos, is what they say. But to be honest, what happens in, about 15, 16 years later, November 16th, InfoWars website received approximately 10 million visits, making its reach more extensive than the mainstream news websites such as The Economist and Newsweek. Now, Newsweek is huge. The Economist is huge. He's receiving more website visits than these huge mainstream media. Interesting, right? And then, of course, another one of Jones' websites is Prison Planet, which we talked about. So after he was fired, he worked in conjunction with some radio hosts. He states that some radio hosts claimed that Jones had used legal proceedings to try to intimidate them or to try to get their broadcasts removed. But in 2001, Jones's radio show was syndicated on approximately 100 stations. Now, I remember back in 08, 06, listening to his broadcast, and I mean, he was humongous then. I mean, but in 2001, he had already been syndicated on 100 stations across the U.S. Now, here's what's really interesting. So this is 2001. What happened in 2001? 9/11. On the day of the 9/11 attacks, Jones said on his radio show that there was a 98% chance that this was a government-orchestrated bombing, controlled bombing. He began promoting this theory and that the Bush administration was behind the attack. The day of, man. The day of. Can you freaking imagine him saying this? And people were like, oh my God, all humanity, people are dying. And he's like, it's the government. And everybody's like, no, we got to go to war. I mean, it's just a total twist on, what people's feelings and thoughts were and emotions were. Such a tragic time. And he's like, nope, 100%, or 98%. It's the government. really fascinating stuff. And it's all fueled by the fact that he was reading a lot of these conspiracy books, met with William Cooper, had him on his television show, talked with all these different conspiracy theorists. And, you know, a lot of people say that he might be an entertainment artist, that, you know, he's just, you know, pushing this to gain followers and to gain money and income from that. And if you hear and listen to him go on like the Joe Rogan podcast, this guy has so much in his melon that his head swelled up. I mean, he's got so much information in there, and he talks to Joe Rogan about how aliens and government and all this stuff just come together, and how the aliens can come in and are transdimensional or on these different wavelengths and all this crazy stuff. It's incredible the amount of stuff this dude has in his head. But a lot of people didn't agree. A lot of people said that, you know, he was leading a 9/11 truther cause, and that he was the leading figure, and he was you know, promoting some negative, you know, ideologies against the government. In 2011, Jones's show had a larger online audience than Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh combined. In 2020, the Alex Jones Show was syndicated nationally by the Genesis Communications Network, which is referred to as GCN, and they broadcast it to more than 100 AM and FM radio stations in the United States. Fascinating stuff. So he said, in all honesty, you know, Jones has a big connection with the youth, and because of his highly conspiratorial tone and web-oriented approach, he was actually more successful than Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh combined. So that's really interesting too. The Washington Post stated that he has a daily audience of 5 million listeners back in 2016, and his video streams topped 80 million viewers in a single month. As we move forward here, his website became huge too. So, according to the testimony that he delivered in 2014, InfoWars had about a $20 million revenue. That's pretty big. In 2017, there was a piece written in a German magazine, Der Spiegel, that indicated that 2/3 of Jones' funds derived from the sale of his own products. So he would sell products on his television show, or his, you know, his radio show as well. InfoWars website. He would sell dietary supplements, toothpaste, bulletproof vests, and brain pills, who hold an appeal for anyone who believes Armageddon is near. From September 2015 to the end of 2018, the InfoWars store made $165 million in sales, according to court filings related to the Sandy Hook lawsuits filed against him. $165 million in 3 years, man. That's some NBA money right there, boy. That's better than NBA money. And and there's websites out there saying he's only worth $5 million, and he had to claim basically bankruptcy with InfoWars, just like, you know, so he probably didn't get sued, all of his money taken away from him by the Sandy Hook legal proceedings, right? Interestingly enough, they did. He did promote, you know, the whole COVID-19 pandemic as being a hoax as well. March 12th, 2020, Jones was issued a cease and desist order from the Attorney General of New York after he claimed that the products he sold, including colloidal silver toothpaste, were an effective treatment for COVID-19. And he was also served with a letter from the FDA warning that the federal government might seize the products he was marketing for COVID-19 or fine him if he continued to sell them. So he basically said that they were not intended for treating the novel coronavirus. But he also said on a linked page that they plan on, if they fluoridated you and vaccinated you and stunned you and mesmerized you with TV and put you in a trance, on killing you. So March 12th, 2020, this is really interesting. He was issued a letter from the Attorney General of New York. Now, he's down in Texas. in the absence of any evidence that the products that he sold were an effective treatment for COVID-19. Nobody knew what was an effective COVID treatment in March 12th, 2020. Everybody was fucking dying, man. So you're going to tell me that anybody knew what was good for COVID? No, the doctors didn't know. The doctors were saying vitamin C, vitamin D. Let's get intravenous 20,000, units of vitamin D or vitamin C and 10,000 IUs of D, and that's proven effective. Well, everybody was throwing shit at the kitchen sink, man. Trump was telling you to put bleach in your shit. You had people talking about light treatments. You had people talking about ivermectin. You had people talking about hydroxychloroquine, and you had people, getting horse paste and all kinds of stuff, man. So I mean, I'm really surprised they threw anything at him on March 12th when that's like when the lockdown started in Illinois and in New York and California and the bigger states. And then, other states followed. But we didn't have lockdown until March 15th in many of the larger states. I was doing a lot of research at that time. March 15th. People had COVID here before that. So, for him to get a letter on March 12th, the government was really pushing hard to keep people quiet at the beginning of COVID, and that's our government. Think about the Chinese government where this, virus supposedly came from. They told people that they were going to kill them. They were going to kill all their writers, and they were going to kill anybody that talked about it. And there's all these horror stories out of China, right? Because China basically doesn't allow for the freedom of press at all. China has total control over their papers. If you buy, let's say you buy a New York Times paper, a New York Post paper, and a New York, Examiner paper, the Chinese government would have the same picture on every paper, same information on every paper, and that's about it. It's not different writers like it is in America. It's not different articles about different things. It's the same fucking paper, just a different title. That's it. So imagine how the horror stories would have been over there. So this really fascinates me, just this little portion about his story there. Now, let's keep going here. We're talking about, this is really interesting now. Because we have freedom of press in America, we have freedom of speech, we have freedom to do what we need to here, what we would like to, what we'd like to talk about. I'll tell you what, in the most recent years, I tried to see, because I was interested in looking up some of the videos that he might have done with Jesse Ventura. Where Jesse Ventura had his own conspiracy show, and I wanted to see if there was any other clips with Alex Jones in there, just to see, because there's the really popular ones and there's like the not so popular ones. You can't find, if you type in Alex Jones on TikTok, you're not going to find anything. Some people might be happy about that. Some people might say, well, what the hell? We have freedom of speech. Why is TikTok blocking it? TikTok's based in China. Why are they blocking it? We also have TikTok here in America, though. A lot of people don't know that. Type in TikTok Mountain View, California. They have offices right there, right near Palo Alto, right where Facebook and Google and Apple are. So there's a presence there that's blocking Alex Jones, period. He also got blocked by YouTube. He got a strike against his channel InfoWars for child endangerment and hate speech. And then Facebook suspended Alex Jones' profile for 30 days. Stitcher removed all of his podcasts in 2018, citing harassment. Later that year, Facebook, Apple, YouTube, Spotify removed all content by Jones and InfoWars for policy violations. YouTube removed channels associated with InfoWars, including Alex Jones' channel. So this is 2018. This is before COVID, man. So basically what happened is that he got blocked from all these different locations. His accounts were removed from Pinterest, MailChimp, LinkedIn. Those are businesses. And then Instagram, Google+, Twitter. So all these big companies basically dropped him like a hot potato and let him go. And so his platforms now are limited to his website and his radio shows, which are significant. Let's not get that confused either. But how do a lot of people find you? New audience members find you. They find you on social media. So they blocked the shit out of him. So after Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter, several previously banned accounts were reinstated, including Trump, Andrew Tate, and Ye. That's not Kanye West, is it? Oh, yeah, that's Kanye West. So, and then it resulted in questioning if Alex Jones would be unbanned as well. However, Musk denied that Alex would be unbanned, criticizing Jones as a person who would use the deaths of children for gain, politics, or fame. Even InfoWars. InfoWars did remain available on Roku devices, which is interesting. And then in 2019, a year after the channel's removal of multiple streaming devices, Roku stated that they do not curate or censor any based on any viewpoint. So that's interesting. He remained on Roku for a while, and then there was a huge social media backlash, and they removed the InfoWars information and basically all of their videos from the Roku devices. See, it's the age of getting canceled. And I'm not saying I'm for Alex or against Alex, but I think that, it's interesting. You can get canceled here. And he's been on Joe Rogan's podcast. So Joe Rogan can have anybody on his podcast and not get canceled. But, if you have another person out there, individuals can get canceled. But if you're an interviewer and you bring people on your podcast, you won't get canceled. It's kind of interesting because people love Joe Rogan. I like Joe Rogan. I listen to a lot of his podcasts. I think they're great. Joe Rogan attracted some controversy when he did host Jones on the Joe Rogan Experience in October 2020. Now, he's had Jones multiple times because I've seen different ones with Jones where he's worn different shirts. So I know he's been on there multiple times, not just the one in October 2020. But he received backlash from critics as well. A YouTube spokesperson responded that YouTube reviewed the episode and determined that it did not violate the site's guidelines, noting that YouTube bans channels rather than individuals. Okay. So individuals can go on other people's sites, like I said. So that kind of wraps up like his kind of overall engagement with the media. Now, I mean, he's done all kinds of crazy stunts. I mean, he went out onto, the streets of Austin trying to get people to interview with him, and try to get people to engage with him in interviews, and people are like running from him. It's pretty freaking wild. Some of the stuff I've seen with him, and people, even say that, he's too close to Trump and that he's got too much connection there. So, I mean, things have definitely got more wild for Alex as the years have gone on. My goal for, doing a bio and, a review of Alex Jones on this particular podcast is just to kind of see where he came from, why he rose to such fame so fast, and to kind of see where things are now. I think people, after Sandy Hook and after, engaging with, Trump and things like that, I think people, a lot of people see him as a far right, advocate and things like that. When I was younger and more naive, I thought he was more left in the early 2000s. He was against the globalists and globalists I saw as the Republicans when I was younger, and now I know that that's not the case anymore. But yeah, he had instead of InfoWars, he now has News Wars logo, so he had to shut down InfoWars and create News Wars, because he got sued. But I think that with any conspiracy theorist that's a huge mainstream, widely, massively popular person, I think it's interesting to look at where they came from, why they got into this, and what motivated them. And it seems like, in the beginning, he was really interested in the conspiracy aspect of the government. The why did the Waco happen? What happened with William Cooper's book, Behold a Pale Horse? With all of that, really, really interesting, conspiracy theory stuff. I can do a podcast on that. Maybe I will. And initially it just seems like he got into it for genuinely interested in conspiracy theory motivation and to fight against the globalists and whatever. And maybe in the back of his mind, he's like, yeah, I want to become super massively famous and I'm going to create my own company and people don't want to listen to my stuff. And that's okay. But I think then later on, I think, he might have gotten too far right and lost a lot of viewers because of it. And the Sandy Hook thing, that's probably shouldn't have pulled that one. That's a tough one. I don't know whether that's true, whether it's not. I think you gotta stay away from like that whole scenario is too emotional. But definitely an interesting character. Definitely brought a lot of light to government conspiracies. Seems to have worked, towards the good of unveiling, unmasking government conspiracies, but definitely made some wrong decisions as well. So take it for what you will. I'm not for or against. I like to do podcasts that further educate me, can educate you, and give you a little bit more information that you might not have known about a very, very infamous conspiracy theorist. So I will leave it at that. We're at 32 minutes already, so I don't want to keep it too long. I mean, we could get into more and more depth about it, but I think that kind of gives you an idea about where he came from and how he rose to his huge heights and is still pretty big, even though he had to claim bankruptcy. Continues with the News Wars moniker, and man, this. Whew, if you want a lot of info on this dude, holy smokes, Wikipedia's got it. I mean, he was into Pizzagate conspiracy theory. Yeah, he had to apologize for that. He had something go on with a Chobani yogurt company where they filed suit against Jones for his claims that their factory in Idaho was employing refugees connected to, oh man, just all kinds of crazy stuff. But, even though it sounds crazy, it doesn't mean it's not necessarily true either. Lots of conspiracy theories do sound crazy and they end up becoming true. And, it's weird when he gets it right, because you're like, holy shit, how did he get it right? Well, this guy does have connections. So he can definitely get things right. However, he can definitely get things wrong too, and so that's where this whole lawsuit kind of came down upon him, and he's still battling out in 2022 and 2023. He's still battling out. They have updated information all the way going up to even October 19, 2023. A Texas judge ruled that Jones cannot rely on bankruptcy protection to avoid paying the $1.5 billion he owes. Oof. Don't do stories while people are suffering, I guess. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough out there for I don't know, what do you call people that do reporting? News reporters, fake news reporters, conspiracy theorists, reporters in general, journalists. That's the word I'm looking for. So, anywho, I'll leave it at that. I hope you guys had fun exploring this very controversial wormhole, rabbit hole, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, let's check out William Cooper next, because honestly, I want to get into him. He wrote one of the first huge conspiracy books out there, and I want to explore that some more, so we're going to get into him next. So guys, tune in for the next one. I hope you're enjoying yourselves. Take care of yourself spiritually, physically, emotionally. Keep that white light around you. Please pass on love, light, and peace to your brother. It's so important, to your family, to the world. You know, that's the key. So keep light, laughter, and love in your heart. Even though we might be facing, challenging times, try to always do the right thing. Try not to push people when they're grieving. That's probably a takeaway there. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves. Again, follow through on your hobbies and your goals and your dreams. And as always, continue to question the universe around you. Till next time, guys, take care. Lockdown Universe out. Go like, follow, share, subscribe. Share the most. Lockdown Universe out.